Hello. It is April 22nd, 2022. Hope you are well this evening. So, what are we going to talk about today? We've attempted to do one of these having to do with meeting a person where he is. You guys have heard that expression, right? You have to meet somebody where they're at. And I didn't really care too much for how those turned out, so here we are. If this one doesn't get did, it don't want to get done. If this isn't successful, then we're just gonna scrap it, and that'll be that. But it's a subject that seems like it's important because there's so much miscommunication that happens in the world, and my feeling is that a lot of it probably has to do with the fact that we are not meeting each other where the other person, we're not meeting them where they're at. We're meeting them where we're at. And none of us is exactly in the same place. We might share some similarities with other people. We might come from similar backgrounds, and we might have kind of sort of the same values that we live by, or whatever. Maybe we've been thrown into a group of people together, so we have that in common, and maybe that group of people is our family. But that still doesn't, necessarily mean that we're going to be meeting each other where that person is. So it's so important, though, and it's so difficult. And it must be difficult because we see that there's so many strained relationships, so many broken relationships, so much miscommunication, as we mentioned, happens when we don't do this. But what does that mean, to meet a person where they're at? Well, basically, when I'm interacting with you, for me to realize from the outset that though we might share some similarities, your outlook is your own, and your interpretation of events is not always going to be the same as mine, and that we have different perspectives. We'll never have an identical perspective with another human being. And to be able to allow for that would probably be very helpful when we're interacting with each other. And so that's kind of what it looks like. Just appreciating also that everyone's perspective is valid. And it may not be mine. I may not understand it. In fact, mine may be the polar opposite, really, to what yours is. But to allow for the fact that you're not me. And, we're not always going to come to the same conclusions. And oftentimes you'll find people, let's just say you'll have two people, and they're talking together, and both people feel very sure of the rightness of whatever they're communicating. And they've got a lot of maybe experience and evidence to back it up, that their perspective is the perspective. And yeah, there are other perspectives, but mine is the right perspective. And I know this. Well, if we're all running around knowing that our perspective is the right perspective, well, no wonder we're going to come into conflict. Because it's difficult to come to a place where we say, you know what if there is no, quote, right perspective? Mine is valid and yours is valid. And where they don't coincide, let's just agree to disagree. Let's just agree to disagree and move on. And don't try to enforce yours, and I won't try to shove mine down your throat either, right? We'll just let that be, and then take it even a little bit further, because our feeling also holds so much energy in this place, that not only are we going to allow for our different perspectives, but when I walk away from you, it's not going to be begrudgingly or with a chip on my shoulder like, "Psh, that idiot doesn't even know what he's talking about." Just because it's a different way of seeing things, or a different evaluation, or a different understanding. That doesn't have to mean that you're a moron, because yours and mine look so different. To be able to realize, because the bottom line is that we're all just doing what we're doing here. We're just doing our thing, and I wanna say something. I don't know how to put this into words right now. I'm not sure how to put this, but as sure as we may be of the rightness of our way of thinking, of our conclusion that we've drawn, you know what? The truth is, if someone presented evidence, strong evidence, against whatever that interpretation is, or that so-called understanding is, if someone presented true evidence that actually suggested the other, if we're reasonable, we'll look at that and realize, ooh, the thing that I thought I knew, I guess I didn't know after all. And we can't really even say how much of what we think we know would fall into that category, really, because there was a time where they knew this and that and the other thing about the world, and then after some years and some more research and some more evidence, real evidence came up, we realized that maybe using animal dung to treat sores was not a good idea. Stuff like that, right? Certain things that were understood to be common knowledge, things that people accepted as real or beneficial, like, whoa, wait a minute. Or what about, remember when the cutting boards, they were using cutting boards that were like wood, and they were cutting their poultry on that, and they weren't cleaning that out, and good grief, why is everybody dying now? You see? And we've come a long way. Think about the time where we didn't understand that, on a molecular level, there's a lot going on, things that the eye cannot see, at least not at the time. Things are going on with microorganisms and such that, I don't care how popular the idea was, it was bad. It was harmful. So if we're reasonable, we'll understand that that's so often the case. And it takes some humility also to be able to step back and realize that, not only do I not have all of the answers, as far as the answers with the capital A, but perhaps I don't have any of those kind of answers after all. These universal ideas that float around that are supposed to be, right or true. Now that's different. We did some recordings a while back on living one's truth. Now that's a whole different thing. When we come to a place where we're ready to take that adventure and start to dive deep inside within ourselves, and really discover what's going on inside, and to be open enough to go there and understand what's making us tick as an individual in this place. That's a different thing. Wow. And learning what it means to live our truth. That's a different thing. But we need to appreciate that everybody's got that right to live their truth. Nobody's got any responsibility whatsoever. Nobody has the responsibility to live my truth in their life. Are you crazy? And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of focus and a lot of other things too, to be able to just be able to start to do that thing within oneself. And we don't have the capacity, basically, in a nutshell, we don't have the capacity to be able to know what anyone else's truth might even be. And nor should we try. It's enough. It's the adventure of a lifetime, and it is the endeavor, and it is the challenge of our lives to get to know what we're doing here, and to come in some kind of an awareness of that for oneself. So to imagine that we can stand up on our soapbox and be able to pass judgment on everybody else according to how well they're living our truth is preposterous. Right? So those are just some thoughts we were having about, being able to meet a person where they are. And it doesn't even have to be in talking with them and having some deep relationship that we're in with them, or it just the way we're dealing with people that we come across in our daily lives, to realize that each of these people has their own truth, and it doesn't have anything to do with you per se. Or at all. That's their business. And the decisions that they make, the way they want to, move around in this place, the way they conduct themselves, and the way that they choose to live their lives, if they're not harming someone else, and if they're not harming you, and they're not making your life, putting you in danger, you know what we're saying. Move on. Not only do we waste a lot of energy when we don't accept a person where they are, and trying to, even in our mind, just kind of sitting and ruminating over some person, what they're doing and saying and this and that. It's like, what a waste of time, what a waste of energy. But also it can be toxic for us. We're really opening ourselves up to some kind of negative stuff that's not good for us. So we don't want to waste too much of our precious time and precious energy in that regard, in that way. And we all want other people to meet us where we are, but we have to also reciprocate that. Because if everybody is just in that mode, well, no, you have to listen to my blah, 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 blah. Well, then again, it's not going to work. Right? So that's it for now. We might do more later, but this is almost at 15 minutes. So hopefully that's been something that's, food for thought. As always, we want to wish you much love. Bye.